走って走って走って足も肺も痛む。でも私は痛みよりもうずきよりも。
She told herself repeatedly that this had to be the place. She instinctively felt it was. She just had to run until she reached this place. Her body's experience and intuition told her that. So she'd come here to keep it from catching up to her. Not just her legs, but her whole body groaned. She tried not to think about whether she'd passed her limit. Her legs hurt as if they were breaking apart. Her chest hurt as if being torn apart. But she'd ignored them and rushed to this place. She just kept running onwards. This was the place his voice had spoken of. She went the right way. But
周囲には誰の姿も見えなかった。無意識に姿を探す。早くここから外へ連れ出して。見えない、いない。そんなわけないのに。うろたえる私を嘲笑うように傍らに近寄る怪物が宙を走る足音。早く追いつかれたらダメなのに。
she felt the monster's presence, the sounds of the monster elegantly wrapped in stagnant, floating water. The paving stones were melted by the rapids, the sound of it moving through the black city in search of her right eye. There was still a fair distance between them, she thought that, but it was only a desire. She looked around her, just like that night. The black fantasies were only stones falsely imitating the shapes of buildings. It wasn't a city, and they weren't buildings. This was the end. A final black wall towering high above her. The interstice was vast, but not infinite.
早く、どうしていないの、エム。私は一つだけ気づく。以前と同じように。お願い。この黒い町とロンドンの共通点。あれはジェーンヌの霧、梅煙の混ざる病んだ湿度。だから私は首を横に振る。避けられない死と共にあるそれを見て。
Why doesn't she take out her black sword? Maybe she can't really control if it appears or not.
恐怖。そうよ、怖い。でも違う。殺されるからじゃない。まぶたは閉じなかった。見る。濡れた姿と赤色にうごめくあの瞳の群れ。
It was a voice with questions. The monster moved through the city with such ease, stealing away the distance she'd worked so hard to put between them. Those fragmentary words sounded anxious somehow. She wouldn't stop shaking, making drops of sweat fall to the black paving stones. The monster spilled fluid as it approached. The monster's water flowed. The monster approached, while melting the paving stones one by one. It approached Mary, who couldn't run anymore. She was afraid. She was being tormented by the terror of death, and something much worse. Mary didn't close her eyes. That was why she saw it close up. That face at the tip of the writhing, streamlined body. That form of a face covered in a hard white mask. It cracked and fell to the ground. Looks like a large eye above two smaller eyes. Perhaps she should have closed her eyes. Mary saw it from only 4 feet away. The real face underneath the mask. Red eyes, but unlike the others, those blood-colored eyes were very similar to a human's. Are they? Its eyes were leaking red blood like drops, searching for something. Yes, that was it, searching for the golden eye. This was also searching for her right eye.
あなたはジェーンじゃない。本物のジェーンはどこ？あなたは違う。怪物。ただ。
No, she couldn't listen to that voice anymore. Somewhere in her heart she screamed. However, Mary couldn't take her eyes off it. Terror and doubt swirled around her head, melting together, swallowing everything. Her thoughts and consciousness were stolen. She couldn't afford to stop, but her legs stopped moving on their own. Space. Her sense of direction shook. Up, down, left and right too. She could no longer tell if she was standing or not. She might have fallen to the ground. She might have been standing with her hands against the wall. Either way, she couldn't run anymore.
聞こえているの？あなたに。聞いて。言葉をかける以外に何ができるの？ジェーン。声が届かないのだとしたら、こんなことやめよう。暗がりの果てで私は死ぬの。私はここでいいの？あなたに。誰にも。私は諦めるの？諦めない。誰にも傷ついてほしくない。でも諦められない。怪物の本流が私の瞳と頭を奪い取る。そのほんの少しの切に。
Paving stones sunk like a black marsh at the edge of her vision. She saw them, even though nothing had moved. Black, black, deep. Depths. Perhaps stagnant wrecks. Impure darkness. Towards it, I extend my hand, my fingertips. Grasp it. Pull it out. There it is. Something long. It was a black sword. A long sword she'd pulled out of the deep stagnant blackness. Her body moved, thrusting her tip forwards before she could feel confusion and doubt again. The sense of easily tearing through space moved through her whole body, along with disgust. Mary wielded a sword while moaning softly. She pointed the tip towards the monster's nose. They were extremely close, but space expanded. Her sense of equilibrium shook, but she knew she hadn't stepped backwards. Space expanded. The distance between Mary and the monster grew all on its own. In accordance with Mary's words, the black space warped slightly, opening up distance between them. The tip of the sword stopped just before the monster's face. If the monster advanced a single step, the sword would pierce it. She could tell it was sharp enough. There was no reason. She just knew. The monster seemed slightly afraid of it. Now that Mary had seen that, she wouldn't let go no matter what pain she suffered. But now that the monster showed signs of fear, Mary's lips opened. She gave words. To someone who should have been beyond the monster. To someone who gave birth to the monster. To Jane. She asked with a hoarse voice.
わからない。なぜあなたはそうするの？怪物の姿で私を殺せば、この目をえぐれば、あなたの願いは叶うの？答えて。
叶わないわ。
A clear voice. It rang out clearer than any of the other voices. It was undoubtedly Jane's own voice. Yes, this voice. Were all the monster's voices the same as the human who gave birth to it? Just now, Mary... In this moment, Mary thought of that question. Yes, she realized. A strong urge to vomit made her chest ache. The monster. No. No. Those were human screams. No different from the four voices scattered throughout the Black City. A human. Someone. Screaming their wish, their feelings, as it closed in on her. In search of her eye, indifferent to its host's rejection, thinking nothing of stealing someone's life. Mary formed words with a shaking voice towards her eye, floating above the head of the horrible monster. To the person who should have been beyond them, gazing upon her from somewhere.
ジェーン・ドゥ、そう名乗った母に似たあなた。どうして怪物をあなたは産んだの？こんなもので何をするの？これは誰かを 傷つけてしまうのに。
私はね、今は M と名乗る彼を助けたかっ
Save him from what?
た。でもね、私には無理だった。肌を重ねても愛をささやいても彼は何を感じることもなくて、そこから動こうとしない。いいえ、動けないのね。そのことに私はずっと気づかずにいて。
The sword gave birth to several thorns that wrapped around and pierced Mary's hand. Pain, much stronger than the pain of being stabbed by a needle. Strong pain. It hurt. It hurt. It hurt so violently. It was hard to endure. Mary held back her tears. She gritted her teeth. Her powerlessness caused the tears to pour out. She couldn't stand the thought of piercing someone with a sword, even though she had no other choice. So much so that tears flowed. Tears overflowed. Her heart ached, much stronger than the pain. She didn't need this sword. She hadn't wished for a weapon. She didn't need this, not with Jane. It was different from things which attacked her for no apparent reason. She knew who it was. She knew whose feelings the four screams were.
名前も知らないあなた、ジェーン・ドゥ。本当の名前を告げてはくれないあなた。4つの声を私は聞いた。何かを、心を求めたあなた。叫ぶほどに、わめくほどに。あんなにも近くで過ごして、こんなにも近くにいるのに、なぜそんな姿をして蹄を鳴らすの。もうやめて、私に近づかないで。これを私に持たせないで。あなたにこんなもの向けたくないのよ、ジェーン。
恨んでくれていいわ。でもあなたは生きて生きて生きて生き続けて。お願いよ、賢いメアリー、強いメアリー。あなたが諦めなければいつかそこへたどり着くから。シャルノスの果てへ。
The end of Sharnoth, huh?
そこに彼がいるわ。彼は100億の夜を一人で。
The voice disappeared. In that moment,
本流をまとう怪物が襲いかかる。止まらない。構えたままの黒剣の切っ先がのしかかる怪物の胸板に突き刺さる。剣を構えた形で掲げていた私へ全ての重みをかぶせるように。
the sword, just before it pierced the monster's chest.
そこまでだ。